My grandpa secretly sent me $7,000 a month for 5 years. My sister took every penny. I was working 3 jobs, living above a nail salon, and eating canned beans when he hugged me at dinner and said, "That allowance has been helping, right?" My world stopped. I never got a dime. Turns out, someone close rerouted my entire future and thought I'd never find out. While you listen, tell me this. What would you have done at that dinner table? Leave it in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, don't forget to breathe, then hit subscribe. I live above a nail salon that plays the same 4 songs on loop every day. Call Me Maybe haunts my dreams at this point. I'm 30, single, and juggling 3 jobs. Barista at 6 a.m., Uber until 2 p.m., stock clerk overnight. I track every cent in a spreadsheet that color codes my misery. I know the price of peanut butter down to the ounce. I haven't had a proper day off in 16 months. So when my family invited me to Sunday dinner, I almost said no. I didn't have the gas or the emotional bandwidth. But I baked a store-brand casserole, slapped on a smile, and showed up smelling like floor cleaner and espresso shots. My grandfather, 78, rich as sin from some shipping business none of us really understand, hugged me the second I walked in. He clapped me on the back and said, "Still grinding, huh? Well, that's what the $7,000 a month is for, right?" I froze. My hands were literally shaking from holding the hot casserole dish, and I remember thinking, what's 7,000? I laughed awkwardly. What do you mean? Granddad looked confused, then worried. The allowance. I've been sending it every month since 2019. Sabrina said it helped keep you afloat. Sabrina. My sister? Everything in the room went quiet for me, like someone hit the mute button. My mom was laughing with my aunt. Knives clinked against plates, and somewhere, someone turned on the TV in the other room. But I couldn't hear a damn thing. I never got anything, I said slowly. Not a cent. Granddad blinked. What? But Sabrina, she gave me your info, set up the account. She said it was the only way to get money to you without you refusing it out of pride. I had never refused help. I had begged for it, quietly, with dignity, in little ways. But pride? No. That was never the problem. I placed the casserole down on the table, hands trembling, heart pounding. Sabrina's voice cut in. "Owen, don't make this a scene. We can talk later." "No," I said. "We're talking now." I pulled out my phone and showed Granddad the email chain I kept from 2019. The one where I followed up twice about the allowance he had mentioned and got no reply. I showed him my bank statements. No deposits, nothing but overdrafts and 129 coffees I couldn't afford. His face changed. The confusion hardened into something else. Not quite anger, but close. Disappointment. Maybe even shame. Sabrina stood up, all poise and pearls, and said, "It wasn't like that. It was for the household. For Mom. But I wasn't listening anymore. Because it hit me. She hadn't just taken my money. She'd stolen 5 years of relief I should have had. A life I could have lived. Choices I could have made. I sat down slowly, my casserole untouched. Around me, the family buzzed with half-hearted attempts to change the subject, but I just kept staring at Sabrina, who wouldn't meet my eyes. It wasn't just about the money. It was what it meant. Someone had decided I didn't deserve help, and they made sure I'd never even know it was offered. And suddenly I wasn't just tired. I was furious. I barely made it through dinner. Every bite tasted like drywall, and my stomach churned with the kind of anger that makes your hands go cold. Nobody said much after that moment. Granddad stayed quiet, barely touched his plate. Sabrina kept trying to act normal, smiling too hard, laughing too loudly, as if sheer will could stitch everything back together. I left early, using my overnight shift as an excuse. As soon as I got into my car, I sat there in the dark with my head against the steering wheel, replaying every interaction with her for the past 5 years. The times she said things like, "You know how Grandpa is. He doesn't like giving handouts." Or, "You wouldn't want to be dependent, would you?" It was all curated, controlled, weaponized. I drove home in a fog, The nail salon downstairs had just closed, and for once, there was quiet. I crawled into bed with my clothes still on and stared at the ceiling. Then my phone rang. It was my bank. "This is Jennifer from Fraud Prevention," the voice said politely. "We're calling to verify a wire transfer request of $250,000 from your personal account to an LLC called—" She paused. "Sabco Wellness Ventures?" I sat straight up. I didn't authorize anything. Jennifer asked some verification questions, then said, "We flagged it because the account was linked but inactive. The request was made through an authenticated device, but we needed to confirm since this is a high-value transaction." My chest felt tight. Cancel it. Lock everything down. Freeze it. Jennifer paused. "Would you like to initiate a fraud freeze tied to your Social Security number?" "Yes. Do it. Right now." She gave me a reference number. I jotted it down on the back of an old receipt. My hands were shaking again. After the call, I logged into my account. Sure enough, there was a request pending under my name. The routing number traced back to a business in Sabrina's name, a wellness brand. She sold overpriced candles and supplements on Instagram. I'd seen it once, thought it was just a side hustle. She was using my name, my identity, my access. And she almost drained an account I had only recently started rebuilding. I couldn't sleep after that. I opened every financial portal I had, checking for activity, accounts I forgot existed, credit scores, mailing addresses. I found 3 attempts at opening new lines of credit in my name. All denied. All from within the past year. I felt sick. This wasn't miscommunication. This wasn't some well-intentioned misunderstanding. This was theft. Strategic. Brazen. Repeated. I opened a new spreadsheet. This one wasn't about budgeting coffee and rent. This one was war. The next morning, I called Granddad. He answered on the second ring, sounding like he hadn't slept either. "I need to show you something," I said. He didn't hesitate. "Come by at 10. Bring everything." I brought printouts, screenshots, call logs, even a timeline. He read it all slowly, face unreadable. At the end, he looked up and said something I'll never forget. "I trusted the wrong child." I didn't answer. What was there to say? I wasn't sure if that sentence hurt me or healed me. Maybe both. But it was a start. It's funny what you remember when your whole life starts to feel like a lie. Not big, dramatic memories. Little ones. Flashpoints. Like Sabrina getting a new car the same year I sold plasma to pay for textbooks. Or Mom pulling me aside and saying, "You know she needs more support. You're stronger." Or when Granddad first mentioned the allowance in 2019. We were in his backyard. He was grilling salmon, telling us he didn't want us to struggle the way he had. "You both get $7,000 a month starting this fall," he'd said, casually, like it wasn't a life-changing sentence. "Use it wisely. I'm trusting you." I was stunned. I remember thanking him, nearly tearing up. I'd just gotten laid off and was drowning in credit card debt. That money would have saved me. But it never came. At first, I thought it was just a delay. Then Sabrina told me he must have changed his mind. "Honestly," she said, "I think he only meant that for me. You know how he can be." She laughed, like it was all one big misunderstanding. I believed her, because she was always so certain, so confident, so trusted. She was the charming one. The good daughter, the one who sacrificed a corporate career to take care of Mom, even though Mom was perfectly healthy and Sabrina mostly spent her days at yoga studios and brunch spots. I was the responsible one, the background character, the guy who never asked for much, which gave everyone permission to give him even less. But now, with everything in front of me, the fake transfers, the unauthorized accounts, the lies, I realized how long I'd been conditioned to believe I didn't deserve help, that my suffering was somehow noble. I spent the next week doing nothing but digging. I requested bank records, got my full credit history, asked Granddad's accountant, a tight-lipped woman named Dolores, for any paperwork she could legally share. I even filed a FOIA request just in case anything else was lurking. What I found made my chest ache. Sabrina had rerouted the payments using a custodial setup meant for minor beneficiaries. She had used language in the form that implied I was mentally unwell and needed her stewardship. There was no official medical diagnosis, of course, just a bunch of vague statements like, Owen struggles with decision-making, and it's best for the family. That phrase kept popping up. Best for the family. A shield and a weapon. She'd even forwarded emails to Granddad's assistant under my name, using a spoofed account. Messages like, thanks, but I'm good. Don't need the money. Give it to Sabrina. She deserves it more. It was horrifying, violating. I stared at one email for hours, trying to remember if I had ever said those exact words. I hadn't, but it sounded enough like me to pass. She knew my voice, knew how I downplayed things, knew I'd never raise a fuss, and she used that silence like a scalpel. One night, I sat in my apartment, lights off, windows open, a cold can of beans on the counter, and felt it all hit me. The years lost, the jobs I took, the moments I missed because I couldn't afford to be there, weddings, vacations, weekends with old friends, all gone because someone who knew I was struggling decided they deserved my rescue more than I did. But something else happened in that silence. I felt something rise in me. Not anger, not even sadness. Conviction. I wasn't going to be invisible anymore. Granddad called a family meeting the following Saturday. Not at the house, at his private library downtown. Neutral territory. No casseroles, no distractions, no easy exits. I showed up early with a binder in my arms and a storm in my chest. The room slowly filled. Granddad sat at the head of the long walnut table, silent. Sabrina came in wearing cream slacks and a silk blouse, her smile as tight as her jaw. My mother trailed behind, clutching a quilted purse like it was armor. Nobody said hello. Granddad cleared his throat. Owen has something to say, and I expect everyone to listen. I stood, palms sweating, heart thudding. This won't take long. I opened the binder and slid it down the table. Inside, printouts of every fraudulent transaction, copies of the spoofed emails, a notarized summary from Granddad's accountant confirming the misdirection of funds, and the bank's fraud alert logs. I've spent the last 5 years working myself into the ground, I said, voice shaking, while someone else collected what was meant for me, and then tried to take even more behind my back. Sabrina didn't even look at the binder. You don't understand how complicated things were, she said, already slipping into that patronizing tone. There were household expenses, emergencies. I wasn't stealing. I was reallocating. Without my knowledge, I said. Mom chimed in, soft and wounded. Sweetheart, we didn't want to burden you. You were already struggling, and Sabrina stepped up. It wasn't malicious. It was about survival. I looked straight at her. Whose survival? No one answered. Sabrina's voice tightened. You've always acted like a martyr, Owen. Like we owe you something for your suffering. This family helped you in ways you never even noticed. I felt my breath catch, the old habit of doubt creeping back in. But I pushed it down. No, I said firmly. This family helped themselves using my name, my identity, my silence. I slid another paper forward. The document Priya, my lawyer, helped me draft. It listed cease and desist language for further access to any accounts or financial activity tied to me, as well as a notarized affidavit stating my intent to pursue legal remedies if the misuse continued. Sabrina scoffed. You're dragging us into court now? You'd really do that to your own sister? I looked at her, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of her disappointment. I wasn't chasing her approval. I saw her clearly, not as a villain, but as someone who chose her comfort over my survival. I'm not doing this to you, I said. I'm doing this for me. Granddad spoke up for the first time in minutes. I've appointed a professional trustee to handle the allowance moving forward. No intermediaries, no family involvement. Sabrina's face cracked. Mom gasped like someone had slapped her. I'm sorry, Grandad added, turning to me. I should have paid closer attention. I nodded. I wasn't ready to say, it's okay, because it wasn't. But the apology mattered. I stood, gathering my things. I'm not here to burn bridges, I said, but I'm done being walked on. As I left, I heard my mother whisper something. Maybe my name. Maybe a plea. I didn't turn around. Outside, the air smelled like rain and concrete. I took a deep breath for the first time in what felt like years. For once, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. The next morning, I walked into Priya's office with a fresh stack of documents and a pit in my stomach. Her office was minimal, sharp, steel desk, navy walls, no family photos, just a single framed quote on the wall. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. She offered me tea. I declined. I think I'm finally ready to make this official, I said. She didn't waste time. Priya reviewed the binder I'd brought, flipping through bank records, forged authorizations, the failed $250,000 wire attempt, and screenshots of messages from Sabrina pretending to be me. She didn't flinch once. You're not being paranoid, she said, eyes steady. This is a clear misuse of identity and grantor intent. They never had legal access. They just assumed you wouldn't fight it. They were right, I admitted, until now. We started the paperwork, financial power of attorney revocations, credit freezes with all 3 bureaus, formal fraud reports to the FTC. She helped me open new banking accounts under a trust shell and lock down anything connected to my social. We even scrubbed old email addresses and secured my digital footprint. And then came the letter, the one we'd send to Sabrina and my mother. Priya drafted it, calm and surgical. Cease contact about financial matters, formal notification of the breach, and a clear warning that further use of my name or information would lead to civil action. I read the letter 4 times before signing it. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt sad, heavy, like something final was breaking. Days later, Sabrina responded. Not through her lawyer, but directly, of course. She sent a rambling 12-paragraph email that started with, I wish you would have just talked to me, and ended with a veiled threat about family reputation and how I was embarrassing myself. My mother called twice that week, left voicemails that swung between confused and angry. We're family, Owen. This isn't how we fix things. Then, you've always been so cold. No wonder you're alone. Priya told me not to respond. I didn't. But I did listen, because I wanted to understand just how deep the conditioning went, how deeply they'd tied my worth to silence, to endurance. The legal moves felt like a wall being built around me, brick by brick. But it wasn't about pushing them out. It was about finally protecting myself from being swallowed whole. One night I went back through old emails, receipts, notes, even old voicemails I'd saved over the years. I found a message from my dad, sent just before he passed. A short one. You don't always have to be the one who swallows it, son. You're allowed to spit it out. I didn't cry exactly, but something broke open in my chest. I was no longer trying to win back their love, or force them to see me. I wasn't asking them to believe I was worthy anymore. I was choosing, maybe for the first time in my life, to believe it myself. By the end of that month, everything was changed. My money was protected, my accounts locked, my lawyer on speed dial, my sister blocked on everything but one monitored email thread. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like peace. And peace was a feeling I could finally afford. The first wave of retaliation came on Instagram. Sabrina posted a filtered photo of herself in her new wellness studio, captioned with a cryptic paragraph about betrayal and family takers who confuse boundaries with selfishness. It didn't name me, but it didn't have to. Friends, extended family, even old classmates started DMing me asking, "Is this about you?" I didn't respond. Not to them. Not to her. A few days later, my mom called again, from a different number. I let it go to voicemail. This one was softer. Honey, Please. This is getting out of hand. We're family. You don't need to involve lawyers. Let's just talk, the three of us, like adults. Then came the email. A PDF titled, Where the Money Went, arrived from Sabrina's monitored account. It was a clumsy attempt at justification. Color-coded spreadsheets, graphs, and 3 pages of typed explanation. She called it Transparency for Closure. It detailed expenses like household cohesion support and emotional labor. One entry read, Helping Owen avoid pride-based self-sabotage, $3,500. Another, Wellness business as family legacy investment. It was surreal. What stood out most was the final paragraph. Maybe I made mistakes, but so did you. You let us do this. You disappeared into your misery. Don't pretend you weren't complicit in your own neglect. I stared at those lines for a long time. Then I asked her to meet in person. One time. Neutral ground. One conversation. She agreed immediately. We met in a park we used to play in as kids. She arrived in heels and a tight blazer, as if dressing the part could keep her from unraveling. You look healthy, she said as I sat down. I am. She looked off toward the swings. Mom's been crying. She says you're destroying us. I didn't respond. I didn't mean to steal, she added. I just took what made sense. You weren't doing anything with it. You were drowning. You watched me drown, I corrected, and then you took the life raft. She flinched but didn't argue. For a while, neither of us said anything. Kids laughed in the distance. Leaves crunched under someone's stroller. Then she leaned in, voice tight. You really want to end things like this? Cold and formal? You think a lawyer makes you safe? No, I said, but it makes me clear. Sabrina's face twisted. You always loved playing the victim. Now you finally get to wear the costume. That stung more than I expected. But I stayed calm, because this wasn't for her. It was for me. You can call it whatever you want, I said. But I'm done negotiating with people who only understand boundaries when there are consequences. She stood, angry now. You're not better than us, Owen. I don't have to be, I said. I just have to be done. She walked off. And for the first time, I didn't follow. I didn't text after. I didn't second-guess myself. That night, Mom sent one final text. Families fight, but they also forgive. Don't ruin yours over money. I didn't reply, because it wasn't about money. It was about finally recognizing that the peace I craved wasn't something they could grant or steal. It was something I had to choose, even if I had to choose it alone. I didn't hear from Sabrina or Mom again after that last message. Not directly, anyway. Mutual cousins reached out. Vague holiday invites trickled in, always with phrases like, no pressure, or just come by for dessert. But I knew better. That kind of peace comes with a catch. By the new year, the administrator Granddad appointed had taken full control of the allowance. A firm professional woman named Elise. She asked me one question during our initial call. Do you want to begin receiving the payments immediately? I paused before answering. No, I said. Not yet. She was surprised, I could tell, but I wasn't ready. I'd spent so many years surviving, stretching $40 across 3 shifts, measuring gas in quarter tanks, rationing shame, that the idea of suddenly having money felt dangerous, like giving a starving man a feast and expecting him not to choke. So I told her to hold the funds, to place them in a separate trust, to wait until I came back, on my terms. Then I did something small, something quiet. I made a list of rules, simple, handwritten, taped to the inside of my cabinet door above the sink. It read, no one gets access to your accounts but you. If something feels wrong, don't swallow it. Love is not the same as obligation. Silence is not peace. You are allowed to protect your own life. I read it every morning while I made coffee. Cheap coffee still. Habits don't die overnight. There were moments when it hurt, deeply. My phone would buzz with a photo from a family birthday I hadn't been invited to, or I'd pass a shop downtown and see Mom and Sabrina through the window, laughing over wine like nothing had happened. But then I'd breathe and remind myself, they don't miss me. They miss their version of me, the one who didn't ask for anything, the one who let them take. Now, the quiet feels different, not empty, clean. Some nights, I sit on the fire escape outside my studio, watching the streetlights flicker on above the salon. The same 4 songs still play downstairs, but they don't bother me anymore. They're just noise now. Not a soundtrack to struggle, just background to something better. I don't know exactly who I'm becoming, but for the first time, I get to decide. No rerouted payments, no gaslighting, no performance, just me. Choosing, living, free.